Alright, so welcome to the Green Room Show for episode number 27 of Limit Break Radio. Just got wrapped up. It's pretty late. This is probably going to be a very short video because these guys need to get moving and I don't want to keep them around too long.
And there's apparently another storm still coming through, which we totally got stuck in last time.
Yeah.
Maelstrom 2, The Reckoning.
Yeah, let's not have a repeat of that. So, anyway, how do you guys feel the show went today? I guess I'll start it off here. I was way more preoccupied with the technical aspect of what was going on with the show and making sure that the stream was running well. And, we had the hardware issue that befell us this week. And so that's sort of where my head was at. I was not involved with the production of the show. Kahlo, you and Nika produced the bulk of the outline. So I felt kind of going in that I really didn't have as much to say. Of course, obviously, I always have a lot to say all the time. But I actually thought in this episode I'd be talking way less than I did. How do you guys feel?
I'm going to piggyback off that a little bit because I thought this episode went tremendously well. Considering the fact that really looking back at what we have this time compared to what we usually have, we didn't have shit in this episode.
Yeah.
You know, the actual content that came out of the live letter was lackluster.
I was thinking we're going to get our episode out of the live letter and we got shit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we obviously still covered a lot of time with it, but the reason that I bring this up is because I still feel what we talked about went well. I think people were entertained. I had fun doing it, so I think we turned what was basically
like a
into
potential
something
dud episode.
Yeah, into something that was worthwhile. And then obviously we had great emails too. And I think this goes further, or for me, because one of our worries whenever we talk about an email-only episode is, but we need to have something.
Yeah.
Well, this time it was something because it was a live letter, but no, it was really
love.
nothing. It was really nothing.
We had
And
love,
I
yeah.
still think that it was a tremendously fun episode to do. When we have episodes where we don't think we have content to rely on, we end up relying on ourselves.
Yes.
And as a result, it's extremely entertaining, and it's extremely fun. I mean, there was a lot of really good fucking burns on this episode.
Yeah.
And the you walking out part, like, that was a lot of fucking fun.
Let me just say that is absolutely purposeful. That when we decided that we were going to bring the show back for 14, a big part of the conversation along with that was, because a big portion of the 11 show was a different guest on each episode that would be there for the entire episode that would sort of act as like a guest host. Mm-hmm. And when we had talked about doing the 14 show, that idea had come up, but I think at first we had said we're going to hedge our bet. We wanted to make sure that the show functioned with the people in the room and with the hosts themselves, as opposed to having to feel like we relied on a guest host every single week, and when we didn't have a guest host in place that we couldn't do a show. That had prevented us from doing an episode on more than a few occasions.
Not even just that, but there was a few times when, because there was a lot of times we didn't really interview the guests beforehand. I mean, it's something we implemented down the line. But there was a time where we'd have a guest, they'd come on the show, and it's like, oh my gosh, first of all, they're not very good at this whole guest hosting thing.
Mm-hmm.
They don't, the audio quality isn't that great. Like, there's been times where we, paused the show, went out into the room, and, was like, all right, this is the first time this has happened.
This is going to be a rough one.
This is going to rely on us guys. We can't rely on the guest host this time.
And that was a really eye-opening experience and I think that's one of the things that I had sort of kept in mind when we started talking about the structure of doing the 14 show. Because there was a lot of stuff about the 11 show that was really problematic. And I think that we talked about a little bit about this on the show too, where we had tried to make content for the most amount of people, for like as much of a generalized audience as we could. And because we were always trying to shoot the middle like that, whenever we would get a response like, I'm offended by this, we would take it way more seriously than we needed to and end up reacting in ways that that were unnecessary and ended up damaging the fun of the show and the fun of the brand.
Nowadays, we only dedicate episodes to doubling down on people's reactions to us.
And overall, it just made the 11 show just not very happy for anyone. So
I don't think that listeners really liked it, and I don't think that we liked it, and it certainly wasn't the way that we had originally envisioned the show when we had come up with it.
I'm not sure I've ever heard you guys speak positively of the 11 show.
you are your own critic's worst
Yeah.
enemy.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
On my end.
I know what you're trying to say, yeah.
Said it a
That's
million
true.
times, but the way that De Niro pitched it was, we sit around and talk about FF all the time. Why not record it?
Yeah.
And I feel like what we do now is
That's
closer
what we
to
do.
that.
Way
than
closer
what
to
it was.
that. Yeah. But eventually, like, I think the things that we weren't ready for were the things like being seen as a community leader, having an audience that was substantial and, bigger than we could keep track of. I think that's one of the things when doing a podcast, like, until you sort of like hit this stride where you have a really big audience, like, for the most part, people can kind of keep track of like the couple of hundred people that they have listening to the show. When I was producing a show that was getting like 500 people listening on a really good day, it was way easier to keep track of that audience.
And to understand what they want to hear.
And yeah, exactly. And when you start reaching a way wider audience, and then you start getting told like, this isn't appropriate, I don't think this should be on your show, it has a way of making you go, oh, well, wait, does everyone sort of feel like that? And I feel like we were really reactionary in the 11 days and really sensitive to those sorts of things, where and I think that was more out of protection for the brand than it was any of us necessarily feeling like we needed to appease or kowtow to anyone or any point of view. And I think really our clarity in terms of our stance on this issue comes from being involved in doing this for almost 9 years. Like, that's really where it comes from.
It also probably comes from growing up and getting to the point where you're just like, fuck it, I don't give a shit anymore.
That too. You do reach a critical mass.
We were in college, we were optimistic, we
Yeah.
wanted people to like us.
But I mean, it also comes from 9 years later, and people are still listening. You get that assurance that you saying one bad thing, you're not going to lose this all overnight.
Right.
You know that your fans are going to stick with you, and when you get to that, you feel a little bit more comfortable putting your brand out there and letting your brand be what it is.
Yeah. Oh, and we talked about comedians, and
You're not a
and
comedian,
stand
by
up.
the way.
No, I'm not a comedian. And,
Just so you're aware.
and stand up, but I mean, like, I think that's the same sort of things that stand-up comedians start feeling once they get an audience, where they, like, people are coming to see them and what they do. They're not having to win over an open mic audience every single night.
Right.
That's a big challenge in the world of a comedian, and we have some of the same challenges where, look, we've got to sell people on the merit of the stuff that we make. We have to sell it on the merit of the content on its face. And I think, I think privately I'm a very risk-adverse person. I don't like taking a whole lot of unnecessary risks. But when it comes to things like this show, maybe I don't see it as a risk, or maybe I'm just willing to take more chances with something like this. But
I think the difference is,
I'm not
it's
constantly worried about how people out there are going to react.
well, plus, I think the reason why is, it's our show.
That too.
It's like being in your own house, okay?
Yeah.
You can say or do whatever the hell you want. You're right. It's not a risk, because the people coming to you should know. Like if you walk into a house party, right, and you don't like the atmosphere, what do? You fucking leave.
You leave.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. We know that there's going to be 250, 300, 400 live listeners every week who know what they're getting into when they tune in. They know what to expect from Limit Break Radio. And there's going to be the new people who come in, and some of them are going to be like, well, I don't know if I care for that, and they're gonna leave, and they're gonna have everyone come like, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah, and that's the thing. For as many for as many people as we get that say, I don't like this is stupid, we get 5 that go, this is the greatest fucking thing I've ever heard.
Would
And
we
then-
love
and then-
waiting for.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then taking another hit of their bomb.
Yeah.
Hey,
Would we
you know
love
what?
for everybody to be a fan of Limit Break Radio? Yes. Is that reasonable? No.
No. It's not. It is
not reasonable,
not
not possible.
Not a reasonable expectation.
But you know what? I think deep down inside of them, there's a little LBR fan in everybody. They just don't realize it yet. But one day they'll see it.
I think that there is a significant portion of people out there that listen that hate us, and I take comfort in hate listen. So I think a lot of people would be really kind of unnerved by that, but I think you're doing something right if you can make people hate you and still feel like
It's
they
like,
need
you
to
know
pay
what it's called when
attention.
someone hates and still listens? Job security.
It's a good one. I think that that's true in terms of what we do. Do you guys feel like the overall tone has become too negative, or I as a host have become too negative? I feel like I've become very negative, and that yes, indeed, some of my views on this game have turned towards the negative, but I'm not totally down and out on 14. I mean, we're not at 1.0 levels of burnout.
No, because I will be the first one to decide, like if a game gets to that point, I guarantee you, I'll be the first one to just be like, you know what, guys, can't do it, not gonna do it no more. But I still like playing the game. I still like the game. The story is great. You know, the lore is great. You know, I'm excited for 3.1.
Yep.
But I think that if they want Final Fantasy 14 to have more longevity, which is obviously extremely important for both players and as them as a company, something does need to change, because I consider myself a very dedicated fan, not just to 14, but to the entire brand, to the entire company.
Yeah.
And I already feel like, all right, the only reason that I'm logging in is to do my ESO chores.
Yeah.
That's why I left WoW, because everything felt like a chore.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think that you're negative or that it's a problem with you. It's a trend in the game that needs to change.
My thing is, like, I worry about it for other people. For me, part of it is I don't have a problem logging in to play, because a lot of the time I'm streaming or interacting with the Laser Beam Raptors Link Shell,
Sure.
and that's a big draw to it for me. Like, to at least even if I'm doing ESO or mashing my face against Ravana or something like that, I can be on stream and having fun doing it that way. You get more entertainment out of it in other ways, but not everyone has that.
Sure.
What does it must be like for the people who don't stream or perform or podcast or anything like that? Like, are they really getting tons of enjoyment just out of grinding ESO?
What kind of keeps them there? Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I also think that's why, in times like this, in the last 2-3 weeks, that we start seeing a really big dip in people who log in. I mean, the last time I have not been logged on an entire week. It's mostly because of my hardware issues. But even the last time I did log in, and it's only the second week of ESOs. The second or third week of ESOs,
Third, I think.
there was only 10 people in the Laser Beam Raptor shell.
Yeah. I took a full week away from it after Seeds of Acceptance, and I didn't miss it. Like, when I got back, I was like, cool, I'm back, but I was like,
Well, that's
I wasn't
You guys
aching to
don't
play.
even log on to do your mini catpots?
well, again, with
I forget to do them when I do log in.
again with the hardware issue, I feel like I should feel way more upset that I've missed out on ESOs, that I've missed out on almost 2 weeks of ESOs because of hardware issues, but I'm really not that bothered.
Again, with the, like you talk about incentivization of gear, incentivizing gear
Yes.
properly.
Yes.
That's why you don't feel like you're missing out on anything.
I agree.
You're like, hey, guess what? Void Ark's going to launch, and I'm probably going to get gear that's going to cover that gap.
Yeah, I don't think that you need to be worried about it as a person or a player. I think, given our relationship with the game because of the podcast and to the community, I think that it speaks more to the game that people in our position have views like we do.
I agree, and we did talk about the function of criticism and what kind of role that's supposed to play not only on the show but in people's lives. But I also worry about the predominant perception not only of me as a person and as a player, but also of the show entirely. I don't want to be the show that hates the game that they do the show for. You know what I mean? Like, that's not really what we're going after. I think what we've tried to do is, in every time that we identify an area in which this game is lacking, that we in the same turn also present an idea to try to work around it.
Yeah. We don't just say we hate the game.
This
blah,
game
blah,
sucks.
blah, blah.
It's boring, and then leave it at that.
Right.
Like,
And we've given a lot of different ways that Square Enix could decide to shake up loot structures, event structures, and I think that that's also a really big defining part of the show. That yeah, okay, fine, people can kind of perceive us as being negative if they really want, but at the same time, we're also proactively throwing out ideas that.
We're constructive.
Plus, here's the other thing. Let's say okay, you're worried about being too negative. So now on the show, I'm gonna fake the positivity. Who does that help?
Well, and I would say maybe
Good
to,
point.
maybe
Doesn't
to be
help
fair, is
anything.
we don't ever talk about. Well, we not ever, but we much rarely talk about things that we really enjoy about the game. I don't think we spend nearly as much time on things that we enjoy.
Well, because I think the stuff that is pure enjoyment. I think we do talk about that, and I think it's the story episodes
Lore
where we
episodes,
talk about
sure.
lore. Because what else is there to like? No one. That's the only thing that I think almost every FF14 player can agree on. The story and the presentation is phenomenal. I mean, yeah, we get it. We get emails from from cutscene skippers. I get that, but I think the vast majority of people play this game for a narrative reason and can kind of get around the idea that like, yeah, this is just a
True.
very narratively powerful
And
game.
it's also the community-driven things where we show a lot of positivity, like when we do limit-breaking music,
Yeah,
and
that's
those are the things we really enjoy about the game. It's a lot of what the community creates to supplement the game.
And like while we're on the topic of limit-breaking music, can one of you remixers get your shit together and come out with a really good Alexander cover, please? I mean, like what they have in the game is pretty good, but I know that like fucking Husky or
Daniel Lambie, Metal Gamer.
Daniel Lambie or Von Grimm. Any of these
None of
guys,
those people watch this.
you guys could make some serious fucking amazing covers from that stuff, and I can't wait to hear it. So I almost feel like we've been holding back on limit breaking music because I want more Heavensward music to put in there and feature in there. I don't want to have it constantly be 2.0 music.
Yeah.
Juxta, how'd you feel about the show? I feel like you've been quiet.
I have been quiet. I'm a little dizzy because I'm hungry. But I feel like it went well.
No, ow, don't do that.
I mean, we were all like really down on like the game, but I mean, it's like we have to like voice how we feel about the game.
That's our job.
Because people will know if we're
That's such a
lying.
cool thing to
They
say.
And we have a
That's our
responsibility
job.
to do it
as
as
community figures. But
Sure.
no, like,
Flip that one right around on you, didn't we?
We've talked about that before, how doing the show weekly, we're more prone to like convey on the show how we feel immediately.
Right,
Yes,
And
that's true.
like a short, 36 hours ago, we were all reading a live letter and also just being like, well, this sucks.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like, I don't know. Like, it was just like such a letdown from like the news we got from the live letter that I was kind of like
I wanted
apprehensive about the thing.
I
about the
wanted
show.
one. Here was my expectation. This just shows you how low my expectation was set for the live letter. Okay, I wanted one thing that I didn't expect.
Why
One
the show
thing.
was- We got
One.
Wait, you expected minion battling?
Yeah, they said something was coming to the gold saucer,
And
and I
you
knew
thought
that.
minion battling?
No, I didn't think minion battling, but I knew I wasn't going to care about whatever they added, and I don't care about minion battling. Hooray! Look at that. This is fucking dumb.
He's still upset
This is
about
fucking
it.
dumb. I don't want to talk about this. This is just like when they added Pancration to
But
FF.
you did
You
Pancration.
did. You did Pancreti, man.
Not once.
For a little bit, you didn't? I thought you went and got like some little Dark Knight pet and gave him some little fucking emo name and like watched him die. Really?
Not even once. Couldn't even tell you how to register for the event. No idea. I did acquire, what was it, Jettons that you had to buy for the plates to participate in ZNMs.
Yeah.
That's it. Look at that. Look at that FF11. Look at that development team for FF14. Look what FF11 did. They took an entirely pointless event and made currency an absolute must. You needed to get Jettons. You had to acquire Jettons to be able to start on working into ZNMs. Like, if that's not, like, they knew what their structure for their shit was gonna be. Like there was no like fast routes around anything.
Look, Yoshi P, you know that we love you and what you do, but maybe you need to call up Tanaka and get a few pointers.
Oh God.
Maybe not.
On the list of things that is not going to happen.
What?
Things that no one has said ever.
We don't like Tanaka anymore?
Nobody has ever.
The
liked
Brown Mage.
Yeah, nobody liked him.
Aw.
Like, Jux, that reaction was perfect. I was like, that was it. Everyone's reaction simultaneously at that storyline was like, fuck you, Tanaka.
This is
Storyline.
dumb.
What are we talking about?
The Brown Mage storyline when you were doing your like 7th limit break. You have to take a giant shit so that you can get stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to
Oh.
eat food, then talk to the brown mage. The
And he-
brown mage.
I
He removes the food buff because you poop. Poop.
I'm sure it was
And then you become a
Tanaka
magical
that
girl in the
wrote
next
that
one.
too.
You sign a contract. God, it got so bad by the end.
Yeah.
Wasn't he not leading it though? At that point, they like put it over to the secondary
You know,
team
he might have been on
because
something
everybody
else by
else
then.
was doing.
Yeah, he
1.0.
may actually have been flipped over to 14 at that.
Yeah.
He might have been fucking up 1.0 by then.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You know, I still, for all the hate that Tanaka gets, he did come up with the concept for the world. I mean, maybe not him, but like that team came up with the concept for the world that we still
Yeah.
adventure in.
Yeah.
So a lot, you know, again, like all of the.
Tanaka's legacy lives on.
So we hate Tanaka just because he messed up 1.0. I mean, our glory days in FF11 were still great. You know, I mean, they did a lot
Oh,
of
no,
stuff.
I
right.
think-
I'm not saying we
think
hate him, I think we just don't want him advising on how to continue with
No,
the
I
game.
think
just,
Tanaka.
just pointers.
I think Tanaka was an alcoholic, abusive asshole to his team, and nobody liked him. That's what I've heard.
Well, I'm just saying. I think that Yoshi P should bring Tanaka in just as as an advisor. I was just
They're consultants.
a consultant.
I don't think Tanaka would do that.
How about he just reads up on what
Obviously-
11 was like 8 years
Obviously,
ago?
Yoshi P has the intelligence and the know-how to be like, you know what, that one's a good idea. The 3 before that were not, but that one I will take into consideration.
How is it that it feels like Final Fantasy XIV is a game that was designed by people who never played FF11 ever?
Because he said, here's 11, make 14 nothing like it.
And
we talked about that.
yeah, well,
they did
and
not
and-
make 11 or 14 anything like 11.
Right. Well, okay, yeah. That
They're
1.0 had 2 directives: don't make it like 11, and don't make it like WoW. And clearly, that didn't work. So I mean, it's just like
The issue is that like I don't mind them trying to make it different 11. It's just when they do things in it where they're literally like cutting their nose off to spite their face. They're like, we are doing this purely to make it not like 11. Like, even if it's a good idea, we're not doing it because that would make it more like 11.
there's so many things about 11. Again, 11 was a really flawed game, but there were many things about it that it did really well. And
It's 10 years later and it still exists.
Ex-
It did something right.
and it's still relevant, and its gear structure is still relevant. And you know, I feel like you can take the same idea for FF14. You take the ideas that worked well from the previous game and you continue those.
Remember, the concept that Yoshi P had when redesigning for 2.0 was what works in Eastern MMOs, what works in Western MMOs, let's put them all together. So if something works in 11, you can put that in there too.
Yeah, it seems like
They're like, we are. Minion battling.
Like, the gear treadmill has, like, that model. I mean, we've been through 1.0 and 2.0. Hasn't that model run its course?
Yes.
Can we look at something else?
Yes.
I'm not
I-
saying
I-
you don't have to abandon it completely, but every other patch losing it, like, it's getting old.
I loved Kahlo's suggestion of putting specific like stat enhancements, like ability enhancements on certain pieces of gear. I think that would be amazing.
Again, for me, the thing with the stat enhancements, it always comes back to will they ever implement any form of gear swap?
No,
I don't
they
think
don't
they
need
will.
to, and you can min-max that shit. If you've got like it forces you into a choice. If you've got one piece of gear, or if you've got a gear set bonus that is really, really awesome, and you've got one, it makes it a choice. Like then you've got to decide, okay, well, are the base stats on this new gear that I'm getting better than the bonus that I'm getting as
But
a
at the
set?
end-
Like it's a fucking choice,
Right.
and I think that's what people want is they just want more fucking
But
choice.
the problem with that is it really a choice? Because you're just going to go to your DPS, your dummy, parse out the DPS, see which one's higher, and do that one. That's all it's gonna be.
It is a choice, especially if there's a low drop rate, high sought after item, because then it becomes clearly if you've got a piece that is 20 eye levels above, even if it has fucked up bonus stats on it, it's still gonna be BIS because you have increased strength or vit or the whatever the two stats on there, that increase your base stat is. That is always going to end up parsing higher than, say, if it has a weird stat allocation on there like debt and accuracy.
The other thing you have to realize too going in is you make these traits that you can put on there, you make them interesting and you make them different.
And
Will there
unique,
always
yeah.
be one that's like, this is best for DPS output? Absolutely.
Maybe.
Let's say probably, but you can still put other things in there that will make you be like, alright, there, I got that one. But I really want this one too, so let me go buy another ESO body and customize this one a different way. This one has movement
That's a great
speed on
idea.
it. This one, makes it so that my armor crush refreshes my dots, but this one makes it so that, my dots do 10% more damage.
You don't need gear swapping to be able to make that relevant.
No.
It's just a choice that you make at the beginning of an encounter. And what's going to be more beneficial to what I'm doing for this run, maybe it's a bonus 15 vit. I don't know. That'll give you a shitload of HP.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, 15 vit, that'll give you a huge boost in HP. So, if we're considering things like that, it seems almost extremely short-sighted to not give extremely dedicated players who are willing to grind the hardest content access to gear that clearly outclasses what we have. And I'm not talking just about BIS allocation even, because that's a cop-out. That automatically gets outclassed with the next tier of gear. And I just want something that's going to be relevant for longer than 3 fucking months or 6 months. Like, something that's going to be relevant for 4 patches.
I feel like we'll see that sort of thing when we reach the point where Square Enix says, okay, this is the level cap we're going to sit at for a while.
Maybe.
I feel like that might be where we see something like that happen, but I would expect in
But
4.0 we're going to see a level cap.
I still don't understand what would be so terrible about a low percentage drop rate item that comes out of very challenging encounters that already exist that give you insane stats. I mean, it's a low drop rate, high competition. People are gonna want it. People are gonna fight over it. Yeah, fine. It may create some drama, but fuck it. Like, this is an MMO.
I don't think there's
Drama
anything wrong
comes
with
with
that
it.
idea.
It solves the problem. It puts incentive there to keep pursuing it afterwards. I mean, fuck.
Then people can start buying clears again and Gil becomes useful. All problems solved.
I don't know.
If only I could
want-
buy the legacy tattoo on the cat shop.
Hey,
All I
keep asking for
want
it.
is like them to make an event that isn't a standard boss. Like I want Nizul Isle where you go up random
Objectives. Give me objectives.
Or I want
It's coming.
objectives or something.
It's coming.
Or
Nizul Isle
salvage
assault
where you're
stuff,
where
yeah.
you're have no armor and you have to kill things and get drops and that becomes your armor for the run. It's just something that's different.
I especially with this last live letter, I'm totally convinced that Yoshi P cannot shut his fucking mouth about new stuff, new features that are coming out, and he will spoil it in an interview if given the chance. And so he's already spoiled the fact that he's looking at a dungeon hunter sort of like
More than that, the other thing that I want to
multiple floors. sort
is
of
I
thing.
want something that your progress is. I don't even know how to explain that. I hate this whole weekly lockout stuff. This is what you have to do in a week, and then the week resets. If you didn't do it, now you're behind.
Yeah.
Something that sure you can go in multiple times per day, but I mean obviously you do still have to have some type of artificial locking mechanism so that people don't just fucking poop socket in a week and now it's no longer relevant. And I don't know what that is, but I want something, like you said, like Nizul Isle or like Salvage that you can go in with either a small group or a big group anytime you want, right? And just have fun with it. That's what I like. That way, you can join a duty finder or a party finder for it, or I can just call you guys up and be like, hey, you want to do fucking Loldazen Isle tonight?
I mean, you're kind of talking like
It was a nice little back.
almost. If you're talking about being able to do it with both a large group or a small group, you're talking about Dynamis, effectively.
Well,
an event where you could
or not salvage.
I mean,
obviously,
obviously,
18 for, didn't you?
no, you could
No.
go in with it, and you were actually at a disadvantage going in with so many.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But the option was still there.
Sure. But I was like Nizewell, like
Yeah,
you were
but-
going in with 6, so you were losing.
But you know what? Here's an important thing. Think of how long it took people to realize that you went in with a disadvantage if you went in with 18.
Oh, it took them a minute.
It took.
In fact, a
took
lot
a
of people
while.
didn't do it because they're like, what the fuck, this shit is broken.
Yeah.
And then a few people finally went with a couple, and you're like, oh.
It's
Yeah.
much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not wrong. People thought salvage was broken for a long time, and then they went,
In
no,
fact-
it's got weird mechanics that they didn't bother explaining.
and yet-
That's really fucking cool.
Yeah, in fact, I was one of the first people when Salvage first came out. Like within that first week, I was making groups and taking people into it because, just like you said,
I was going with you. I
that
remember
gear, I'm like, I want this fucking shit. I'm gonna figure out how to do it, and it was terrible.
Yeah.
It was terrible, and
Yeah.
we were like, oh shit. And it wasn't until Covered in Bees started doing it and invited me along, and I'm
But
like,
you know what,
this is
dude?
how we
But
do it.
again, this is exactly what I'm talking about. There's no gear that motivates people to get into something like it motivated you and I to get into salvage, to really like start working at it. I mean, you kept working at it to the point where you had your Scotties by. Like, why
You want to know what stops
why am I
me-
not I'll pose it as a question. Why am I not as motivated by gear in 14 as I was by 11? It's a
Realization.
personal problem.
realization that I just made because I told you I'm gonna try doing Savage when it starts coming out, and I haven't. And it's not because the gears don't motivate me, because I think the daggers look fucking awesome. I'd love to have them for glamour. You know what it is I don't think I like that kind of gameplay. I don't want to join a group and then smash my face against the same encounter over and over and over again. I need something that's more,
I don't blame you.
something more dynamic.
Yeah.
Something like Salvage or Nizewell or Assault that is objective based, not just here's this boss, keep doing it, keep memorizing it until you get it.
Here's a boss in a round arena, now kill it.
It's the same reason I haven't tried Bismarck Extreme yet or Ravana, because I want the Ravana weapons. They look cool.
At least Bismarck, I will give this to Bismarck. Ravana is an encounter in a fucking round arena, but at least Bismarck wasn't a round arena.
It's more like an oval.
I know, right? It was sort of like a crescent moon, and then you have to jump onto the whale.
And then
It was
the crescent moon grows a tumor, and you
Yeah.
go on the tumor and you excise it.
It's a little bit more unique.
Yeah. And it's not really in a room, you're in the sky, which
And
is
it-
different because
It barely feels like a primal fight. I'm gonna be
you're
honest.
not, you're not fighting a primal, really.
Yeah, you're fighting Vanu Vanu.
You're
Yeah.
fighting heads.
Yeah,
You're fighting ants.
It's a stationary dungeon.
pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I want. I want a more dynamic event that makes me.
I want
Fuck it.
something.
No, you know what? I want more guild hests.
Yeah.
I want them to turn guild hests into something relevant.
I want something where people don't know what's going on day one. Like Abyssia. Nobody knew what the fuck was going on there. And then people used it for XPing. They still don't know what the fuck was going on until someone got exclamation points.
Yep.
What the fuck is exclamation points? There was like a good week where people were just trying stuff out, testing stuff until they got it down.
Yeah, the first few days of Abyssia, when everyone was like, why the fuck don't I get any XP in here? The mobs don't give XP? What the
Yeah.
hell is that all
It's
about?
like, this is too
And then you
hard.
killed like 30 of the same mob finally, and you get 1 XP, and you're like, how come I got XP that time?
Yeah.
What do I do differently?
Yeah.
Do I have to weapon skill to get XP? No?
Yeah. Again,
I'm getting these lights. What the fuck is a light?
Yeah. I mean,
Have mechanics that we can't explain right out of the gate.
this is
Stop fucking babying us.
It is. That's what it is. I feel like this game does not treat me like an adult.
You want to know why? Because all the popular MMOs do. Reaching a wider audience that way.
But you know what? Again, and I think that this is a point proven by our show that you don't have to cater to a mass appeal. You don't have to cater to the lowest common denominator to be able to find your significant audience.
I like I'll be the only one who doesn't say that anymore.
It's true though.
I don't know.
It's absolutely true. I mean, we made
That's why I brought it up on 6 straight episodes.
we made a choice when we brought the show back that we were going to do it differently, and because we made that choice, I think that this show is stronger and more popular than other Final Fantasy XIV podcasts because we set ourselves apart.
Clearly,
and I
we
think
should have
that,
made an MMO.
and I think that Square Enix has, when I said that Square Enix has that opportunity to reset and really train their community from 3.0 on, I was kind of using Limit Break Radio as a bit of an example because we took the opportunity after we had been off for a year to completely reset and to reshape the show. Yeah.
You know what I'm surprised we haven't gotten, and maybe it's because they don't feel the need to send it, because we've obviously gotten lots of emails. It's like, oh, I used to listen to Limit Break Radio back in the day. I'm glad to see that it's back. I love it. No one has actually gone to the point to point it out, and it's really different. Just like, oh, I used to love it now.
Yeah.
Right? Now, obviously, it is different. We know it is.
Yeah.
We haven't ever gotten an email with someone saying, used to listen to it back in the day, came
Don't
back.
like it now.
I was really surprised at what it is now. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna listen.
We haven't even gotten the other side of that where, someone could say, hey, I checked your podcast out when it was for 11 and wasn't really my thing, but now that I've come back to it for 14, I really like it. Like, we haven't seen that either. Just an interesting
I
trend.
think the people that liked our show in 11 was when like we would break the 11 mold a little bit, and what we do now, a little bit of that would seep in into the 11 show, and that's what people actually want.
Because what we did with 11 seems so different to what we're doing now, because we catered, and now we don't, but it's like we have the same audience.
We have a similar audience. I actually think we have a much wider audience.
Well, yeah.
That we don't.
Yeah.
We aren't pigeonholing ourselves constantly.
Right. We're not just pulling in the weeaboos.
Yeah. Right.
Get that weeaboo shit out of here.
All right. So I think that's going to do it. Does anyone else have anything to add for this episode?
We did not have very many callers.
Not very many.
Many people wanting to call in.
Wait, one day I wanted to call on a lot.
Again, really?
Okay.
Hey, we had 2 nutters.
Here's a story that no one knows until now. Skype wasn't loaded on that computer for the first 10 minutes. I'm like, man, where's Rob?
I almost kind of missed him now that he's not calling.
Go down the system tray. Skype's not active. It's not open yet. So I'm like, okay, bring up Skype. Right there, call from Rob from New York. Before I even had the Skype window, Skype, Rob was right there before that window came up. I'm like,
I looked over at Chuck's reaction.
He's like, it's like he's like, what the fuck? They're live. Why isn't they're not on? Suddenly, alert! Limit Break Radio is boom, calling.
He calls before the show is even live.
yeah.
That's great.
I'm pretty sure he was trying to call in before Skype was even up, because there's no way.
We should have had him on this episode. I mean, if we didn't have many callers, why not?
We were long, dude. We were 2.5 hours anyway. It was getting hot in there. Again, we were talking about FF14, which he doesn't play. And that's
We can't have Rob from New York every time.
We haven't had him every time. That's the point.
We did take a break from him.
We did.
We might.
I think he needs to make a reemergence next time. That we're short on callers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we're short on
fine.
callers next time, we'll take them.
But this show was really focused on things about 14 that Rob from New York would not have known about.
That's true.
So
That's true. Yeah, the last time we took his call was on rate anxiety, and he had something legitimate to say.
So-
See, at least, I feel like in moments that we bring him on and he doesn't have anything specific to talk about for 14, that we end up just making fun of him, and then I feel bad. So
No apologies.
But don't apologize.
nope. No
Never
apologies.
apologize.
All right, that's going to do it for the Green Room episode. Thank you guys for your support on Patreon.
Fritz thanks you as well.
Yes, he's been comfortably sleeping most of this episode. So anyway, thank you guys so much for your support and for checking out Limit Break Radio and for continuing to watch the Green Room Patreon videos. If you have an idea for something about these videos that you'd like to see changed or adjusted in the future, let us know, because we're always looking for feedback on this. So that's going to do it. Take it easy, guys. See you next time. Bye.